Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Battlefield 3 In Depth. I've been kind of procrastinating on this one, not necessarily because I hate Battlefield or because I love Modern Warfare 3 so much, but mostly because the proper in-game stats didn't come out until about a month ago, and it wasn't until about 3 weeks ago that I actually had stats to verify my stats to make sure that everything was true, and I've been waiting on Lebo to get me PC clips, and I've been diddling and dawdling and doing Modern Warfare 3 and yada yada yada, but alas, here we are at Battlefield 3 In Depth. And in today's episode, I'm going over all of these specializations, or all of the specializations as applies to you, the running around character. The vehicle specializations, that's an entirely different animal. First up today is Sprint. Sprint's pretty simple in what it does. It just makes you run 10% faster. Not your movement speed, not your left-right walking, but your actual running speed, your sprinting speed, it gets 10% faster. When you're using squad speed, you're going to get the same 10% increase in your run speed. This is one of my favorite perks to have, and one of my favorite perks to share with the squad. I really like being fast. I really hate being slow. I like getting to objectives when I like to get there, and I like for my squad to be able to keep up with me. So this is one of the best squad perks in my opinion. Also, I tend to spend a lot of time running from helicopters and tanks, and that little 10%, that 1 second, that 2.5 seconds, that makes a big difference between me getting blown up or not. Next up is ammo, and as you can see, our Douglas of White here is using squad ammo, and as you probably also saw, I had a lot of extra rounds on my FAMAS. The ammo spec gives you 50% more magazines for your primary and secondary weapons. That's 50% more ammo for whatever your primary or secondary handgun is. Now, that's not going to give you any more ammo for your noob tubes, that's not going to give you more grenades. If you're an engineer, that's no more missiles, that's no more anything else. It's just ammo on your primary and, secondary weapons. It's for your magazines, not for anything else. Ammo is another perk that I wouldn't normally run by myself, but is extremely helpful when you have as squad ammo, because then your whole team starts with a ton of ammo and you don't need the support guys as much, and you can go longer. You don't need to reload, you can kill a lot of people. This is what you'd use if you're playing on a team and you expect to live for a long time. The gameplay that you're watching may look a little bit newbie, but it was harder than expected to get kills with only frag grenades or only undermount grenade launchers. The specialization in question is FRAG. When you run this, instead of having one frag grenade in Battlefield 3, you're going to have two, and that doesn't sound like much, but you only get one in Battlefield 3. I don't think they resupply with the ammo kits, and they don't do a hell of a lot of damage, so having two makes them enormously more effective. Janklin Jones tends to run this a lot when we play with him, and it's very, very effective. Run squad frag. This also will give you more grenades in your undermounted noob tube launcher, which it's not the coolest of weapons, but there's that. Our middle child today is FLAK. FLAK reduces the lethal explosive radius by all explosions by 10%. Now that sounds like a pretty small number, but I would say it's actually very significant. That's 10% less lethal damage on grenades, on helicopter rounds, on tank shells, on claymores, on C4, on pretty much everything. And not only is that 10% your effective death radius, but that's a 10% radius reduction all around, so that's 10% less damage you're going to be taking from any of these things. Once again, not normally the perk that I would run just solo, but as part of a squad, it can make your squad more resistant to explosives, which is very, very good. Tanks and helicopters and other things won't be quite as bothersome, they won't scare you, they won't pin you down as much. And as a guy who spends a lot of time in this game running from tanks and helicopters, I can tell you that I do certainly appreciate it when somebody in my squad's running squad FLAK, so I can keep on running and keep on dodging explosives and get closer to those MCOMs. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because cover and squad cover don't necessarily do the same thing. They both do reduce the effect of suppression, however they do it by differing amounts. Cover reduces the effect of suppression by 25%. That's 25% less radius that it happens, 25% less blurry screen, 25% less sound distortion. Very, very useful, because I find suppression or suppressive fire on me to be very, very annoying. When you upgrade to squad cover, you're actually getting a negative 33% reduction. That means it is 33% less radius, less effect, less noise. So squad cover is actually better than regular cover, not just because you can share it, but for everybody. You're getting another 11% reduction in suppression. One of my favorite specializations, being an engineer that is explosives. With explosives you get double the amount of rockets, double the amount of claymores, double the amount of C4, double the amount of explosive items that you normally would. Grenades, unfortunately, and noob tubes don't count as this, but this is an extremely, extremely useful perk if you're an engineer, and can be extremely useful if you're running a support class, but typically speaking, it's an engineer's thing. So squad explosives does the exact same thing, but since there's not likely to be that many engineers on your team, not that useful unless you're doing some teamwork and sharing with some other squad perks. This one's more of a selfish kind of perk. It is really great though, because tanks in Battlefield 3 do tend to take a lot of damage before they blow up, and that paltry couple of rockets they gave me to begin with just doesn't stack up to the 10 beautiful rockets I have every time I run explosives. And our last perk today, Suppression, has a more extreme effect between regular and squad. Regular Suppression gives you plus 25% on your suppressive abilities. That's radius, that's the effect on people, how annoying it is. And this is useful. I normally run this on my support classes just because I'm always bullet hosing with the light machine guns and they suppress anyway. Sometimes the sniper rifle. Sniper rifles are very good with suppressing. Why not stack this on there and suppress even more? Squad Suppression is really, really crazy. Squad Suppression gives you plus 50% suppress. That's a double regular suppression, and you can share this with everybody. So your ability to suppress with Squad Suppression is 50%. That's 50% on your radius, 50% of the annoyance and everything. This is a really awesome perk to have. The first one, the regular suppress, not so cool. Squad Suppression, really, really effective, really annoying for the other team, and you can share with everybody, so everybody's gun's doing it. Squad Suppression is one that I actually highly recommend. Well guys, that's it for this episode of Battlefield 3 in Depth. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and next up I'm going to be going over the attachments, and then after the attachments I hope to move into either tank damage, that's the damage you're doing to a tank with your rockets, because that's kind of complicated, or maybe the assault rifles. I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe. Drifter out.